What were the rules and standards for the simplification of traditional Chinese characters? When defining exactly what is a simplified character, we would want to know by what authority, what government or industry authority made the rules, and what exactly were the rules, and by what logic. How did they come up with the simplification? The two government authorities that were involved were the Zhonghua Renmin Gonghe Guo Wenhua Bu, or the Ministry of Culture of the People's Republic of China, and the Zhongguo Wenzi Gaige Weiyuan Hui, the Chinese Character Reform Commission. Conversion from the traditional text to the simplified text takes place in 7 steps, and the following is a description of the 7 tables. The first step to simplification is Table 1, Common Variant Elimination List. Variants are 2 or more characters which have the exact same pronunciation and the exact same meaning, but may have different logical forms. In 1955, there were many variant characters which meant exactly the same thing. My database lists these rules indexed with a C prefix, as in C502. You see 3 characters on the right pronounced Ray, and they become the character on the left. This refers to the stems of flowers, and all of them are pronounced the same. They are all variants of the same character. The ones below were to be banned, and only the ones on the top were to be used. It was called the DEPET Zi Zhengli Biao, now referred to as the Common Variant Elimination List. It resulted in a list of 810 acceptable variant characters and 1,055 associated variant characters which were to be banned. It was discovered that these 2 characters appeared twice. After several adjustments on February 1, 1956, the list had 810 acceptable variants and 1,053 associated variant characters which were to be banned. Over the years, some modifications were made, and some banned characters were resurrected. The current list has 796 acceptable variant characters and 1,027 associated variant characters which were to be banned. This table would be the first step in converting traditional text to simplified text. The list has some problems, though. Problem 1. The true variant should have the exact same meaning and exact same pronunciation and equivalent logic. But some of these characters in the list had the same pronunciation but different meanings. For example, in my database, rule C220, he means nut, but he means to investigate. It is in fact substitution, not 2 different variants. Problem 2. This resulted in the current generation of Chinese not being able to recognize many common traditional variant characters. Problem 3. Over the years, some modifications were made and some banned characters were resurrected. The most recent table has 796 acceptable characters and 1,024 banned characters. The second step in the simplification, Table 2, 350 standalone simplifications. In 1955, a list of 350 characters was published, which were given simplified forms. These characters were to be simplified in their standalone form, but not if they were part of another character. My database lists these rules with a prefix A and a number, such as A145, Lan, which means that orchid you can find in the list on Wikipedia. The list has some problems, though. Problem 1. In several cases, multiple traditional characters are converged into one character. In the case of Rule A238, the meaning of typhoon becomes Tai, meaning to talk, and Tai, meaning platform, becomes Tai, meaning to talk. This may cause some confusion sometimes. Problem 2. Sometimes the character is not actually a simplification, but a substitution of a rare traditional character, such as A73, G. Problem 3. It is claimed that the simplification did not invent any new characters. This is not exactly true. Many characters were invented by strokeifying supercursive forms of Chinese characters. They may claim that the character previously existed, but technically that is not true. My criteria is, if it is not in the Kangxi Zidian, it is a new character. The character for newspaper is simplified by simplification rule A009N, Bao. The N indicates that Bao is actually a new character and cannot be found in the Kangxi dictionary. Problem 4. Originally, the idea was that there were no common characters in which these characters appeared as components. But there are some characters where these character components were found to be components in other characters. In these cases, the components are also simplified. It was thought that I never appeared as a component of another character, but we have the character I, which means your daughter, in which the component I is simplified. Problem 5. In some cases, the character is not simplified because of some special use. In rule A071, Gan indicates that the character is simplified when pronounced Gan, but not when pronounced as Qian. Problem 6. Rule-based conflicts in some cases. The new character already existed and had a different meaning, so this creates a conflict in meaning. In the case of A013, Biao means a watch, but Biao means the outer part of something. The third step in simplifying traditional Chinese characters, Table 3, 132 Global Simplifications. In 1955, a list of 132 characters was published which are simplified in their standalone form and are also simplified when used as components of another character. My database references these simplifications with a B prefix. In B093, S means to be stingy. But it also is used in other components, in other characters such as Qiang, which means lady. You can find the list on Wikipedia. Now to step 4. Table 4 was 14 simplified radicals, a list of 14 character components that are to be simplified if they are components, but not simplified if they are standalone characters. I indicate these rules with an R prefix. R09N, Jing, indicates that the character Jin, meaning gold or metal, is not simplified, but it is simplified in the character Jin, which means needle. You can find this list on Wikipedia. Now in step 5. Table 5 is 1,753 rule-based simplified characters. The table defined simplified characters, but it did not define traditional characters. Originally, there were 1,753 characters that were simplified according to tables 1, 2, 3, and 4. Problem 1. In some cases, the rules are not strictly applied, and the simplified character is an anomaly. For example, Nao means noisy. It has two men fighting, do, but it gets simplified as if it was a gate, mun, which is an anomaly. Problem 2. This list is out of date. There are characters from this list that are not included in the 2013 standard list of characters, and there are simplifications in the 2013 list of characters that are beyond this list. Problem 3. Rule-based conflicts. In some cases, the new character already existed and had a different meaning. So, this creates a conflict in meaning. 识 means to recognize, but it gets simplified to 识, which originally meant hysterical laughing. You can find a list on Wikipedia. Next step, step 6. Table 6, 80 new and old character forms. In 1965, there was no really rigorous definition of exactly how you were supposed to write a traditional character. There was the Kangxi Dictionary, but if you looked at the characters in different fonts, along with Japanese, Korean, and Cantonese characters, you could find some annoying discrepancies. When they published a list of common use characters in 1965, they also published a detailed, rigorous list of how not to write the character. This came to be called the Xinjiu Zixing, the new and old character forms. Some of these rules were so trivial that they were eventually ignored, but some of them were quite significant. For example, in 1950, you might have one font that wrote Huang and another font that wrote Huang. Both characters mean yellow. The new and old character forms said the first one was correct and the second one was wrong. In fact, the old character forms were never really rigorously defined terms. I remember reading traditional Chinese and finding the character dui. I wasted a lot of time trying to find it in a dictionary when I already knew the character dui, which means to convert. Dui became the simplified form and dui became the traditional form. There were a couple of confusing terms. The Japanese also had a period of simplification of kanji characters, usually referred to as Xinjiu Ziti, or new characters, or new and old character fonts. It was similar to the Chinese simplification, but not quite as extensive. My database lists these differences with an F prefix, F032, Huang, for instance. Just for reference, I show there is a pointer to the Japanese simplification rule. The final step, Table 7, a complete list of simplified characters. After applying Table 1 through Table 6, what do you do about the very rare characters? In 1965, the Chinese government published a list of 6,196 characters. The 1965 list of 6,196 simplified characters, the Yingshua Tongyong Hanzi Zixing Biao, the list of common use Chinese character forms. It was supposed to be a list of all the characters you would ever need to use. It was pretty complete for the most part. There were a couple of problems. Number one, many Chinese liked to name their children using obscure characters no one else knew. They thought it made their kids sound more intelligent or something like that. So, if your name used one of those characters, you had to change your name. 2. The same problem applied to many place names, with characters that were so rare, few people knew how to pronounce them. Some places also had to change their names.